What I want to do here in After Effects 2022 is make something called motion tracking, where it's going to track the motion of a video that I'm going to bring in, and then I'm able to overlay graphics that will actually move with that motion. It's pretty simple to do. So I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a video clip that I've already found online, this cityscape. It's 1920, 1080, 24 frames per second, and I'm just going to bring it in here and drag it into my layer. Once I drag it into my layer, automatically a comp is made for it, cityscape, the same name as the actual footage. And here it is. And now if I look at my layer, Command K, my composition, I see that it's 1920, 1080, 24 frames per second. This has to be 39 seconds long, but I don't need to use that much, but nonetheless, that is what it is. So what I have here, if I play through at full resolution, I'll bring it down to a third just for now. I just want to get you a sense of what is actually happening here. So, you know, it's kind of just like a pan of this cityscape, which is really nice. And it goes, like I said, it goes for like about 40 seconds or so. And it's just kind of this continuous look, which is really, really nice. So I could even say right about here, I'm going to stop. I'm going to cut it off right there, maybe at the 18-second mark, just to keep it a little bit quicker. And I'm just going to cut it. Option end bracket is going to bring it to the end here. Sorry, I need to actually select the layer. Option and close. There we go. And actually, you know what? I can even go back into my comp now and say, you know what? I only need about 18 seconds. So let's go back to my comp. Command K. Let's make it 18 seconds. Okay, and it's going to cut it right there. Oh, even less, that's fine. So I could bring this over a little bit more. That's fine. Okay, good. So now I have that all set up. So what I want to do, I actually want to track this. I want to track the motion so I could overlay a graphic that moves with it. So how do we do that? What I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on my layer, click on animation, and then go to track motion. Okay, track motion. What comes up? Well, we've used this panel before, the tracker. We've used that to do some mask tracking. So now we're going to use it to do some motion tracking. Now what happened as soon as I did that, my layer opened up. So I was just like double clicking on here and I get my layer panel. So I'm no longer in the current composition. That's the composition. It brings me to a layer. It opens it up here. And what I have here is this track point. So let's zoom in a little bit. I'm at 100% here. I'm going to zoom in even closer. So what I want to do, I want to take this track point and set it at a spot where there's good contrast, where there is After Effects is going to be able to tell what the spot is and then track it using this kind of target. So let's move this over. I'm just going to grab it. And I'm going to drag it kind of over top here. I see there's some good contrast here. Plus, this is kind of where I want to put my graphic. I'm going to put it around here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And what it is, so this little plus sign is the actual point I want it to focus on. This extra here, this box, is kind of more the reference point of where I want it to be. So really look in this area. This box is more of the focus, like the search area. It's going to search around this area. I can make this massive, but it will just take longer and we kind of don't want that. So I'm going to roughly bring it around here too. So once again, the key point is where I want it, and obviously that high resolution area, so that good contrast area, which roughly is here. I could even bring it down here if I wanted to. Maybe that would be a good recognizable spot. But for now, I'm just going to bring this whole thing up here. It looks pretty good. Great. So now what I also need to do, I also need to add something to my composition. I could have done this before. I need to add a null object. So if I go to layer, new, and null object. Now the null object is just an object that has transform properties like normal, but it actually has no opacity. There's nothing to it. It's not a physical thing where you can actually see it. So I'm just going to call this, actually I don't want to double click on that. I'm going to bring that back here. I'm going to call this my, tracking null. Okay, and I can make it specific, but it's all good. So I'm going to double click on this again. I'm back here, double clicked on my layer. I'm back in that layer where I want to move around this. I'm going to zoom out, and that's it. Now that's all I need to do. I need to, I'm going to edit the target, and click on edit target, and I want all that information to be on my tracking null. So I want all those keyframes, everything it's going to remember, it's going to go on my tracking null. Then once that's done, I could position any graphics I want and connect it to that tracking null, and it's just going to move with it. So let's try this out. I'm just going to say okay, and now I'm going to track it. I'm going to press play, and it's going to play through my 18 seconds, my CTIs at the beginning, and let's see how this goes. All right, it's done. So what I can do now, I can actually, and once again, if I wanted to add, maybe right now it just had position, that's all it needed. If I needed to add a motion where there's rotation happening or scale happening, I could have clicked on those as well, and obviously we're just taking more of that information in. But I really didn't need, I just need a position change. Great, so now what I can do with all that, everything's selected, everything's fine, I'm just gonna click on apply. And now it asks me, well, how do you want to apply those dimensions? Do you want to apply the X and the Y? Well, really here, there's only a little bit of Y axis where it goes up and down. Mainly it's X, but you know what? I'll save both just because there is a little bit of downgrade here. It's kind of going down on the Y axis, but I'm going to keep it as an X and Y. I'll say, okay, done. It brings me back into the composition. And now I can take a look. I'm going to bring that CTI back. I'm going to zoom in. At my 100%, I'm at full, and now that null object carries all that information. All those keyframes are there. They're also on this city landscape as well. Feature center, confidence, attach point, all that was a part of the motion tracking. So now what I can do, I'm going to create a graphic. So let's look at a graphic here. I'm just going to type in maybe bridge. Okay, there's my bridge. Cool. Maybe I need to change that color just so we can see it a little bit better. Great. And I'm just going to say, you know, I want this text, this word, to attach to the null object. Well, that's where our parent and link comes in. So this is going to say bridge. So now with that bridge selected, the layer selected, or whatever graphic you choose to bring in, it could be a logo, it could be something you've made, other shape layers, absolutely anything you want. I'm going to click on my parent and link, and I want this graphic, this word, or whatever it is, to just match exactly what the tracking null is doing, which happens to be following the motion of the video. And that's it. So I just pick whipped, click and drag, click on tracking null, or I could have just kind of this area here, went to this area and tracking null, same idea. Done. Now, what should happen, bridge is not just going to stand in this spot right here. It's going to move with that null object, which is right there. It's going to move with it, which is also going to move with the video. So let's take a peek. And there I go. It's just going to keep going all the way up until the end of the video. It's just going to keep moving with it. That's it. So now this is a pretty cool way on how to track the motion of a video and you have graphics that kind of move with it. But we're not done there yet. Let's do this again, but now let's do it because this time we had the motion of kind of the camera moving. Well, what if we had an actual object moving on our video? So I have this other one I brought in before. I'm going to bring it in to my project panel. There it is, man walking, and I'm going to bring it down, and here it is. Okay, so what's this look like now? So this is a shorter video clip, which is great. So it's just this person walking, fantastic. So what I want to do is the exact same thing. So I select this. I'm going to make a null right now. I'm going to make a new null object right now. Layer, new, null, and I'll call this maybe walking null. Okay. So that's set up, that's great. So now what I want to do, I'm going to click on this layer, the actual movie clip. I could go up to animation and click on track motion. Tracker comes up again, and remember, it opens up in its own layer again, and there's my track. Now, once again, what do I need to find? I need to find an area that's going to move with this person who is moving around. And I usually found a contrast area here where I kind of get the white and the dark. Like I kind of want to keep that there. Pretty happy with that. I don't need to really change my search too much. This I'm happy with where the focus is. Great, that's it. So what I'm going to do now, I have to go to edit my target. I'm going to say, yes, make it the walking null, which it already kind of had it selected for me. Okay, so now I could just play through. I don't need rotation, I don't need scale, just position is fine. And I'm just going to analyze it. So it starts there, and let's go through it. All right, done. And you'll notice here in the layer with all our visibility options, we have the view where we saw before where we could also do our rotoscoping here. Well, it's just showing the motion tracker points, which these are all the motion tracker points. And we see there's a lot of X, obviously, and there's also a lot of Y going up and down. So this is what we want to see. It also shows us the render. Perfect. So now what I want to do, I want to say apply it. Let's apply it to the null. So the null is going to get some keyframes on there too. And I'm just going to say apply. And once again, do I want my X and Y? Yeah, I'll stay both. I'll want my X and my Y, and I'll say okay. Perfect, done. So my keyframes were added to my null object, and they were also obviously added to the actual video to track it. Now let's do that last step. Let's add some type here. All right, and this is just kind of going to flow with the motion. Instead of just staying in this one position here, it's going to move with that motion. So let's see how this works. So now I do have to attach it. I have to do a parent and link. I have to link this graphic or whatever you choose to link to that new null. So I'm just going to pick whip there and bring it to the null. Or once again, I could have just clicked on here and say walking null. And let's play through and see if that graphic moves with that null object, which is there, and see how this goes. All right, so it bounces with it on the Y. It's moving with it on the X. Pretty cool. All right, it goes to the full length of that video. Now I want to do it one more different way. So I'm actually going to do this again, but I actually want to shut off the Y this time. I just want to see how it looks. So I'm going to bring that in one more time. And I'm going to make a new null. Okay, so this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up once again to animation, track motion, and I'm going to bring up my target, and I'll bring it in the same spot I had before, right about here, and I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to edit the target once again to make it the walking null number 2. That's the new one I made. Say okay, and let's play through. All right, done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply it, but this time I'm just going to apply the X. I don't want it to go up and down. I don't want it to move like that. I just want to apply the X. Okay, let's try that out. Okay, done. I'm going to make that graphic again. I'm just going to duplicate this one, bring it up here, make it visible, bring it over here. And now once again, it's just going to work with the X. It shouldn't work with the Y. So I'm going to bring it back. There we go. And it was already applied. I'm going to make sure it applies to the walking null too. So I made it parent to this null. So once again, just pick whip it there, same idea. And now it shouldn't move up and down. It should just go straight and focus on the X axis and not the Y axis as well. Let's play that through. Exactly. So it doesn't kind of jitter up and down. It just follows the X axis, which might be another option for you to use as well. So this is how we use track motion or motion tracking with our video clips that have motion on them already. And we can tie a graphic or anything to the actual motion moving once we do a little motion tracking, add a spot track, and kind of play around with that. I hope this works out. I hope this helps to create some really interesting motion.